just need to reassemble.
What's up guys, RBG here bringing you more news on the aforementioned Avengers Project, and I'm just as surprised as you that this is the second update I brought you guys in less than a week. Because information is usually scarce and we usually have to take any info we do get with a very small grain of salt. In my previous update, I mentioned what the gameplay would entail based on the new job listings Crystal Dynamics had open. Things like the combat and it being a third-person action game that will be utilizing some of the common elements found in modern gaming. That generally gave us an idea of what we would be in store for, but the thing that really crushed a lot of fans' enthusiasm was the news that Crystal was looking for a narrative director for the Avengers Project. That was a freaking bombshell, man. Like, I assumed that they've been cooking this game up for at least 3 or 4 years, and I had every reason to believe that they couldn't be hiring a damn director this late in the game. Like, what the hell have they been doing? They couldn't have released that announced trailer with no idea of what the story and gameplay would be like ahead of time, could they? Well, it's looking like that may have been the case, and we're going to talk about it today. But before we do that, I want to remind the viewers that this video is sponsored by Beautiful Halo. If you're a man or woman of culture who loves anime, games, and dank memes, then I highly recommend checking out their merch. They have a wide variety of stylish hoodies and other cool apparel that'll have your friends mad jealous. By using this promotional link, you get 5% off any $49 purchase or higher. So slide on over to beautifulhalo.com. The link will be in the description box below. So this month has been pretty crazy for Square Enix. Last week they released a new trailer for Final Fantasy VII Remake, and as you can see, the devs have went into a complete overhaul with the game's cosmetics and gameplay mechanics. Everything looks different compared to the first trailer and build we got 3 years ago, specifically Cloud's design. Like, we had heard that Square was taking their time to make FF7 Remake feel like the original, and it looks like those rumors were true. Cloud looks more like his original self as opposed to how he looked in Advent Children, and he looks a lot bulkier compared to his design in the first FF7 Remake trailer. So things seem to be on the up and up for that title. Square is finally comfortable revealing more information, and they've stated that there's more to come at this year's E3. While the Final Fantasy fans were celebrating that news, fans who were expecting an update on the Avengers Project were left in the cold. And I had mentioned that this is probably due to Square focusing all of their time and attention on FF7 Remake. Well, after getting an update on their earnings and an interview unveiling their plans for 2020, it looks like their attention may be focused more on the Avengers Project than I initially thought. Reports have been coming in that Square's net earnings have been declining drastically in the past years. After a disappointing third quarter, they've been trying to quote-unquote reconstruct their business divisions to increase the efficiency of their workflows, make more effective use of their resources, and consolidate their expertise with the aim of improving profitability. To put it in the layman's terms, they've been spending a shit ton of money and hardly making any of it back. They revealed that although games like Just Cause 4 and Shadow the Tomb Raider boosted the overall sales compared to last year, they didn't reach their desired goal. The exact numbers weren't revealed for Just Cause 4, but Square said that Shadow of the Tomb Raider shipped 4.12 million copies by the end of the quarter after having a slow launch. And I think that slow sales increase of the latest Tomb Raider was largely due in part to Square releasing it on Steam for half the price it was released on consoles. The physical sales were down 70% compared to its 2013 predecessor sales, but a month after it launched, its sales increased after its price was reduced by 50% on Steam. But anyways, those two titles aren't the only thing that hurt Square's operating income. Apparently, the excessive amount of marketing they've been doing for games like Kingdom Hearts only made matters worse. Which is surprising in and of itself because you'd assume that a highly anticipated game like KH3 would make back all the money the company put into it, especially with the Kingdom Hearts community. So Square has been hurting financially, and it's starting to show because they've been picking when and where they want to market certain games like FF7 Remake, as opposed to releasing multiple trailers and giving release dates. And I bet this is why they've been silent about the Avengers Project. Back in February, they announced that they were planning a massive spike in income growth after they revealed a big title with various announcements leading up to E3. After hearing this, fans began speculating that this massive spike was largely due to FF7 Remake. And I gotta admit, I assumed this too, because I remember back in 2015 when we got the first trailer, Square's stock went through the roof, and Tetsuya Nomura went on record saying that they needed to remake this game to get Japanese consumers back on board with consoles. Console sales aren't doing that good in Japan right now, and the gaming market has been getting dominated by mobile games. Square is looking to recapture that magic where the original FF7 motivated Japanese consumers to buy more consoles. So we had every reason to believe that the massive spike was largely due in part to FF7 Remake. Every trailer that's been released for it has gone viral, and the original FF7 is already a cult phenomenon. So that's gotta be what Square is expecting to make a lot of money from, right? Well, based on a new report, that massive spike in income has since been delayed to the fiscal year of 2021, leaving many of the Final Fantasy fans concerned that FF7 Remake wouldn't be coming out until 2021. But that game seems to be coming along well, and it's been getting worked on since 2015 at the very least. As I mentioned earlier, it's already confirmed to get another reveal at this year's E3 along with other unknown titles. And at the moment, Square only has two big major titles on the horizon: Final Fantasy Remake and the aforementioned Avengers Project. If I'm going to take an educated guess on which game is getting delayed to 2021, I'd have to go with the Avengers Project. It was unveiled 2 years after FF7 Remake, and as I mentioned earlier, they're just now hiring a narrative director, which is sort of baffling. But it's only been a measly 2 years since the game was unveiled back in 2017. And 4 to 5 years is usually a good development window for a new AAA title, so it makes sense as to why we haven't been seeing anything else regarding that game. And I have no doubt that the Avengers Project is causing this massive spike. Another YouTuber by the name of Night Sky Prince said this, and I hope he doesn't mind me using his quote because I share this sentiment wholeheartedly. Although Final Fantasy VII is a massively popular game, the Avengers are on a whole nother level of popularity. FF7 Remake has had its time to get a massive reception with its 3 trailers, and that hype has kind of fizzled out a little bit. Once we get another trailer of the Avengers Project that potentially features actual gameplay, the response is gonna be insane, because most have forgotten that it's an actual thing, and seeing it at this year's E3 is only gonna reinvigorate fans' enthusiasm. While their movies have been blockbuster juggernauts, their game division hasn't really had the best track record. But it's been proven that if they put their properties in the right hands, fans will buy their titles. Marvel Spider-Man PS4 is a good example of that. The game managed to sell over 3.3 million units in its first 3 days of releasing, becoming the fastest selling first-party title in Sony's history. And it sold over 9 million units in 2 months after it was released. It took Final Fantasy VII from its release in 1997 to 2005 to sell 9.5 million copies. So that's 7 years compared to Spider-Man PS4's 2 months in sales. So it's kinda plain to see who Square is really invested in. But anyways guys, I'm sorry for the first half of this video being heavily focused on FF7 Remake, but I had to give you guys as much info as possible before I segued into this other thing I want to talk about. Now before I talk about this, I just want to give you a huge disclaimer that you might want to take this info with a small grain of salt. But apparently someone who works with Crystal Dynamics or someone associated with one of the Avengers Project's developers leaked out some new information under a throwaway Twitter account. I usually don't entertain these things unless they're posted by more reputable sites like NeoGAF, but the information the mystery user mentions correlates with a lot of things from Crystal's job listings. They say that they have no main story details, but they did see mention of Von Doom in some of the conversations in the Avengers Tower. Also Hydra side ops in the main computer. So this is basically an indicator that Crystal Dynamics is more than likely just getting started on the story, and that their narrative director job listing backs up this speculation. The user goes on to say that we'll get our first glimpse of the Avengers Project at this year's E3, but we shouldn't expect a release date. Once again, this falls in line with some of the other rumors we talked about. It's almost if this game just went into development a year ago. While the user states that we won't get an official release date, I think they'll at least announce that the Avengers Project is coming out in 2021. And if that happens, I won't be mad. One thing I think fans were pissed about was the fact that we didn't get any updates giving us a gist of what the game would be about. But if Square Enix is going to release a new trailer at E3 2019 showing gameplay, or a CG trailer giving us a better idea of what the story will be about, we'll be a lot more optimistic. But anyways, let's get back to this post. It says, in comparison to Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, which boasts 30 characters with DLC included, Crystal Dynamics made Avengers Project a tighter, mature, and more narrative-driven game with non-linear elements that'll make the player decide certain outcomes. The Avengers Tower was the main hub where you navigate missions, side operations, level up, and upgrade characters. This was reminiscent of the OG BioWare games like Mass Effect and how Normandy was used. Now, I just gotta say that I was expecting to get something like this because Crystal Dynamics stated that they were looking to utilize typical elements found in modern AAA games, and the Avengers Tower being the main hub was a given. I mean, it is the Avengers Project. I think the thing that'll disappoint some fans is the limited number of characters on the roster as opposed to the more robust roster in Ultimate Alliance 3. I really don't mind since this game is going to be very story driven and it looks to have a lot of gameplay mechanics under the hood. And since there's going to be ramifications based on certain decisions you make in the game, I can imagine that each character's missions will double in terms of replayability. So I don't necessarily mind this tighter roster. Speaking of that, the user goes on to say that the Avengers Project has 6 playable characters, but they cannot be switched in and out like Marvel Ultimate Alliance. Instead, you take control of the given characters in the given chapter depending on your loadout. The decision was made to balance the gameplay with the narrative, akin to how GTA allows you to switch characters in its main storyline. The 6 playable characters include Thor, Captain America, Hulk, Black Widow, Hawkeye, and Iron Man. And we pretty much saw this coming, like it's highly alluded to in the trailer that we were going to get the original 6 Avengers like the Hulk, Cap, Thor, and Iron Man. Because you see the Mjolnir and Captain America's shield and a busted up repulsor arm, and there's also a scene where it looks like Bruce Banner dropped his glasses on the ground before hulking out and destroying a steel door. It seems like Marvel Entertainment may have had a say in who they wanted Crystal Dynamics to use in the main Avengers lineup, since those characters are commonly seen by casual fans through the MCU films. And I think that's pretty smart. You want to bring in those movie fans to maximize your sales figures. The thing that I'm a little worried about is if they'll make the characters look too much like their MCU counterparts. But based on the supposed leak, Avengers Project will feature original concepts made from the ground up. Apparently the art style is almost exactly the same as Insomniac's Spider-Man for the PlayStation 4, but the user says the characters they had at the hub were wearing more casual clothes. Steve Rogers was wearing a blue fit shirt and track pants. Clint was wearing the exact same Hawkeye outfit he had in his Fraction run of the comics. They mentioned that they didn't walk into Tony Stark's, but Bruce Banner was in a lab wearing a lab coat with all types of equipment. Supposedly Banner looked a little sickly compared to recent depictions, and Black Widow was in the firing range with Hawkeye wearing black sporting gear. Now I just gotta say thank the gaming gods that the design team is going their own route with the art style, because I was gonna be pissed if they injected MCU influences into the characters' looks. I'm sick and tired of seeing these characters used as a cheap marketing ploy to gain the attention of movie fans. That's what I hate about games like Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite and Ultimate Alliance 3. They look too MCU-ish and cartoony. The newer games just seem like they lack their own identity as opposed to older entries that didn't mind borrowing from other iterations like the comic designs. I'm pumped to see what exactly Crystal Dynamics has in store for us with their take on these characters, especially if they're going to be on the same level as the designs from Spider-Man PS4. And maybe, just maybe, these games will exist in the same universe. We already have some big names associated with this title, like devs who worked on God of War, Uncharted 4, and the new Tomb Raider series, so you just know this game is gonna look beautiful. But anyways, the last thing the mystery user talked about was the level up system, saying that every character has a skill tree and that they all level up at the same time with XP earned from main missions and side ops. Upgrades affect the character's looks, so there's a bit of customization involved. If this is all true, then it's awesome news because it's only going to add more replayability to the Avengers Project. Like, I know Square said that this will be a game that Marvel fans will play for years to come, so the level system is going to be very intuitive. The only thing that I'm a little apprehensive about is how the characters will essentially share experience points. I'm hoping that I don't get a buttload of XP for all the characters based on one mission. I want to grind with each individual Avenger and unlock some unique gear since the customization is going to be an actual thing. But we'll just have to wait and see if this will be revealed at this year's E3. And this is going to be a make or break situation for the Avengers Project because we've been disappointed at every E3 conference since 2017. So it's time, man. Like, I feel like I'm running out of things to say about this damn game that feels non-existent at this point. So Square Enix has a month to convince the naysayers that this title is still in the works. But that's pretty much all the info I got for you guys today. I know I was a little more long-winded than usual, but there was a lot to go over. I want to know what you think about this info. Do you think Square is more invested in the Avengers Project than FF7 Remake? And do you think the supposed leaks are real? Let me know in the comments below. As always, I ask that you like or dislike the video. It doesn't have to be a thumbs up, it can be a thumbs down. Any feedback is good feedback and will only help me improve on my channel. But if you really enjoyed the video, it would help me out tremendously if you shared it on social media outlets with all your friends and followers. Sharing really makes a difference. But this is your boy RBG signing out on another video. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.